The lock clicked like a gunshot in the silence of the corner office, sealing us in from the humming fluorescent buzz of the trading floor beyond. Michael's eyes, those storm-gray depths I'd stolen glances at for months, locked onto mine, wild and unguarded, as if the weight of 1,000 unsaid truths had finally cracked him open. "Christopher," he whispered, voice breaking like thunder over the Hudson. "I've been lying to you, to all of us, and if I don't say it now, it'll bury me alive." I froze behind my desk, the stack of quarterly reports scattering like fallen leaves in a gale, my heart slamming against my ribs as the world narrowed to the man who'd mentored me, haunted me, become the axis my days spun around. Rain lashed the floor-to-ceiling windows of our Wall Street perch, mirroring the storm brewing in his gaze, and in that suspended breath, I knew whatever came next would shatter the fragile empire we'd built. One deal, one stolen smile, one forbidden brush of fingers at a time. Michael, 38, broad-shouldered with the kind of effortless charisma that turned boardrooms into his personal stage, paced the Persian rug like a caged panther, loosening his silk tie as if it were a noose. We'd been here before, late nights blurring into the witching hour, fueled by black coffee and the electric hum of ambition. But tonight, the air crackled differently, charged with something primal, unspoken. He stopped inches from me, close enough that I could smell the cedarwood cologne clinging to his skin, mixed with the sharp tang of fierce sweat. "It's not just the merger," he said, his voice a low rumble that vibrated through my chest. "It's you. God, Christopher. It's always been you." The confession hung there, heavy as the gold cufflinks glinting on his wrists, remnants of a life I could only glimpse through the haze of envy and desire. I joined Sterling and Hale 6 months ago, fresh out of Wharton with a resume polished to a shine and dreams of conquering the financial jungle. Michael was the king here, Senior VP of Acquisitions, the guy who closed billion-dollar deals over steak at Delmonico's and whispered strategies that made competitors crumble. He saw something in me from day one, a hunger, he called it, and pulled me into his orbit. Late-night strategy sessions turned into inside jokes, then lingering looks across conference tables. I told myself it was mentorship, nothing more. But in the quiet of my Brooklyn walk-up, replaying his laugh or the way his hand steadied mine during a shaky pitch, I knew I was lying to myself. Now, with the door barred and the city lights smearing gold across his face, the lie crumbled. "I can't do this anymore," he continued, sinking into the leather armchair opposite my desk, elbows on knees, head bowed like a man at confession. "My wife's been asking questions about the hours, the trips, and you. Fuck, Christopher. Every time you walk in here with that fire in your eyes, it's like you're pulling the pin on a grenade in my chest." He looked up, raw and wrecked, and I saw it all. The wedding band he twisted like a talisman, the shadows under his eyes from nights spent wrestling demons I hadn't known existed. My throat tightened, a cocktail of shock and something fiercer. Hope, maybe, or the reckless thrill of possibility, bubbling up. "Michael, what are you saying?" I managed, my voice steadier than I felt. I dated guys in college, quick flings in Philly dive bars that ended in awkward goodbyes, but nothing like this. Nothing that felt like fate wrapped in a Brooks Brothers suit. He was married to Elena, the poised curator I'd met at the firm holiday gala, all elegant lines and knowing smiles. They'd been together since Dartmouth, a power couple in every glossy magazine profile. And me, 26, single, crashing on a futon in a Bushwick loft with 3 roommates, chasing the American dream one overpriced oat milk latte at a time. "I'm saying I'm in love with you." The words landed like a market crash, seismic and irreversible. He stood again, closing the distance, his hand hovering near my arm as if a frayed touch would ignite us both. "It started with your pitch on the Vanguard account, that goddamn brilliant breakdown of risk models. But it's more. You're alive, Christopher. You see the world not as numbers on a screen, but as stories waiting to unfold. And I've been dead inside for years, playing the role everyone expects. The straight arrow exec, the devoted husband. But with you, I feel like I could burn it all down and build something real." Rain hammered the glass harder now, a frantic percussion underscoring the chaos in my pulse. I wanted to bolt, out the door, down the elevator, into the anonymous throng of Times Square where secrets dissolved in neon. But my feet stayed rooted, drawn by the vulnerability cracking his polished facade. This could ruin us? I whispered, the truth tasting like ash. The firm, your marriage, everything. He nodded, jaw clenched, but his eyes held mine with a fierceness that made my knees weak. I know, but losing you without fighting? That's already ruin. That night, we didn't cross the line, not fully. He poured a scotch from the crystal decanter on his shelf, the amber liquid catching the lamplight like liquid fire, and we talked. Really talked. About his closeted college years, the pressure from his Wall Street dynasty family to man up and marry Elena. About her suspicions, the therapy sessions they'd started last month, the guilt that gnawed at him like a bad investment. I shared my own fragments. The conservative upbringing in suburban Ohio, the first boy I kissed under the bleachers at homecoming, the relief of escaping to Philly's queer underground. Hours slipped by, the scotch warming us from within, until his fingers brushed mine across the desk. Deliberate, electric, and the world tilted. By dawn, as the first gray light seeped through the clouds, he unlocked the door with trembling hands. "Go home, Chris," he murmured, using the nickname that sent shivers down my spine. "But promise me we'll figure this out." I nodded, stepping into the emptying office, the echo of his words chasing me down the hall. The elevator descent felt like freefall, my reflection in the mirrored walls a stranger. Flushed cheeks, dilated pupils, the ghost of his touch lingering on my skin. The weeks that followed were a fever dream of stolen moments and mounting tension. Mornings started with his emails. "Coffee run? Your usual?" We'd meet in the lobby's anonymous bustle, our fingers grazing over paper cups, conversations laced with double meanings only we could decode. Afternoons bled into strategy huddles where his knee would press against mine under the conference table, a secret Morse code of need. Elena noticed nothing, or so he claimed, her gallery openings and charity galas pulling her into a parallel universe of velvet ropes and whispered art critiques. But the firm was a pressure cooker, and cracks began to show. The Vanguard merger hit snags. Regulatory hurdles from the SEC that had Michael chain-smoking on the balcony, staring at the East River like it held answers. I threw myself into the fray, crunching numbers until my eyes burned, earning his praise in sidelong glances that made my stomach flip. "You're my secret weapon," he'd say, voice low during our working lunches, at the hidden speakeasy 2 blocks away, where dim Edison bulbs cast shadows over our booth, and the jazz trio played standards that felt written for us. One such lunch turned pivotal. We ducked into the Blind Tiger after a brutal all-nighter, the merger docs strewn across the scarred oak table like battlefield maps. The scotch arrived unbidden, double, neat, and as the sax wailed my funny Valentine, Michael's hand found mine under the tablecloth, thumb tracing circles on my knuckles. "I dream about you," he confessed, the words slurring softly with exhaustion and liquor. "Waking up to your laugh, not the alarm clock. Building a life where we don't hide." My breath hitched, the fantasy vivid. A brownstone in the village, Sunday brunches with mimosas and the New York Times crossword, his head on my shoulder during double features at the Angelica. But reality intruded like a cold front. "What about Elena?" I asked, the name a barb even as I said it. His face shadowed, the joy flickering out. "She's everything I thought I wanted. Stable, safe. But it's not fair to her. Or you." We lingered there until last call. The walk back to the office a gauntlet of sidelong stares from cabs and doormen, our shoulders brushing like conspirators. "That night," he texted, "doors unlocked. Come up." I didn't. Instead, I paced my loft, the city symphony mocking my turmoil, sirens wailing, neighbors arguing through thin walls. Betrayal wasn't just a risk. It was inevitable, a ticking bomb in our borrowed time. The bomb detonated on a crisp October Friday, the kind where autumn leaves skittered across Battery Park like confetti from a forgotten parade. We'd nailed the merger. Vanguard in the bag, champagne corks popping in the executive lounge as bonuses were whispered like state secrets. Michael pulled me aside amid the chaos, his tie askew, grin boyish and triumphant. My place tonight. Elena's at a show in Chelsea. We celebrate properly. The promise in his eyes, unfettered, finally ours, propelled me through the evening, small talk with suits blurring into irrelevance. His penthouse on the Upper East Side was a revelation. Sleek lines of mid-century modern, floor-to-ceiling views of Central Park ablaze in reds and golds, a bottle of Veuve chilling in a silver bucket. He greeted me at the door in jeans and a cashmere sweater, barefoot, the domesticity of it undoing me. No more offices, he said, pulling me inside, the door clicking shut with finality. We cooked pasta primavera from a recipe his nana swore by, laughing over spilled garlic, wine loosening our guards. Dinner led to the couch, his arm around my shoulders, a rom-com flickering on the massive screen we ignored. The kiss happened organically, inevitable as the tide. His lips on mine, soft at first, then hungry, hands framing my face as if I were fragile, precious. I melted into him, tasting salt and surrender, my fingers threading through his hair as the world dissolved. We moved to the bedroom, a sanctuary of crisp linens and city hum, bodies entwining with the reverence of long-denied pilgrims. It was tender, fierce whispers of "I've waited so long" against sweat-slick skin, the rhythm of us syncing like a perfectly balanced portfolio. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his head on my chest, he murmured, "This is home, Chris. You are." Dawn brought the afterglow's haze, coffee brewing as we lounged in robes on the terrace, the park a misty watercolor below. But Elena's text shattered it, home early. We need to talk. Panic flashed in his eyes, raw and animal. Hide, he urged, shoving me toward the guest room. I complied, heart pounding, eavesdropping from the shadows as her key turned in the lock. Their voices carried sharp, accusatory. The scotch, the unmade bed. Michael, is there someone? Her tone was steel wrapped in silk, the curator's eye spotting forgeries a mile away. He denied it, voice steady as a closing argument. Just a late night with the team. You know how it is. Lies flowed easy, but I heard the fracture, the plea beneath his protestations. She didn't buy it fully, but left for a meeting, the door slamming like judgment. He found me trembling in the alcove, pulling me close. I'm sorry, he breathed, but the damage was done. Trust, fragile as spun glass, had cracked. We can't keep doing this, I said, pulling away, the words tasting like betrayal's echo. Not like thieves in the night. His face crumpled, the king unthroned. Then what? Walk away? I can't lose you. But I did walk. Down the service stairs, hailing a cab in the alley, the city blurring through tears. Betrayal wasn't his alone. It was ours, woven into every stolen breath. The fallout cascaded like dominoes. At the firm, tension simmered, Elena's casual lunches with HR, probing questions about team dynamics. Michael grew distant, our interactions clipped to emails and nods in hallways, each one a knife twist. I buried myself in work, volunteering for Tokyo outposts, anything to escape the ghost of his touch. Nights blurred into bars and Hell's Kitchen, anonymous hookups that left me hollower, chasing the high we'd ignited only to snuff it out. Winter gripped the city, snow blanketing Central Park in indifferent white, mirroring the frost between us. Christmas loomed, the office decked in garlands and false cheer, Michael's obligatory party a minefield. I almost skipped it, but ambition or masochism drew me in. Tuxedo crisp, smile practiced. He was there, Elena on his arm, radiant in emerald silk, her hand possessive on his elbow. Our eyes met across the ballroom, a current arcing through the crowd, and I saw the plea, stay. The night wore on in a haze of eggnog and small talk, until he cornered me in the coat room, the fur and wool a muffled cocoon. I ended it, he whispered, urgent, his breath warm against my ear. With Elena. Therapy, separation papers. It's over. Shock rooted me, joy warring with suspicion. Why now? I demanded, voice hoarse. Because I can't breathe without you, Chris. Because this half-life is killing me. His hands cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears I hadn't noticed, and I leaned in, the kiss a dam breaking, desperate, reclaiming. But betrayal's shadow lingered. As we parted, breathless, Elena appeared in the doorway, glass in hand, eyes narrowing at the disheveled coats. "Michael!" Her voice was a scalpel slicing the air. He stepped back, composure snapping into place like armor. "Just grabbing my scarf." She nodded, but the doubt festered, a seed planted. The new year dawned with fragile hope. We met in secret, a no-tell motel in Jersey, weekends in his now solo apartment, bodies and souls mending in the quiet. He filed for divorce, the papers a gauntlet of lawyers and assets. Elena's grief manifesting in icy voicemails he played for me like confessions. "She deserves better," he'd say, guilt etching lines around his eyes. I nodded, but inside, the fear gnawed. Was I the better, or just the escape? Spring thawed the city, cherry blossoms rioting along the avenues, our love blooming tentative and fierce. Public dates, hand in hand at MoMA, brunches in Soho where waiters didn't blink, felt revolutionary. A middle finger to the closets we'd escaped. At work, we navigated carefully. Professional boundaries, but the undercurrent hummed, drawing whispers from cubicles. "Hale's golden boy," they murmured, oblivious to the truth. Climax crashed in May, a board meeting gone nuclear. The SEC probe, dormant embers, flared, allegations of insider trading on Vanguard, fingers pointing at Michael's aggressive tactics. The room erupted, accusations flying, his mentor, old man Sterling himself, slamming fists on mahogany. "You've jeopardized everything, son." Michael stood tall, voice steady. "It was calculated risk, not fraud. I'll prove it." But as the gavel fell, suspension pending investigation. His eyes sought mine across the table, terror veiled in steel. That night, in his apartment, the mask shattered. He paced the living room, Scotch glass shattering against the wall, shards glittering like accusations. "It's over, Chris. The firm, my reputation, gone." I pulled him close, but he recoiled, self-loathing a venom in his veins. "And you'll be collateral. Run while you can." The word stung, betrayal's old ghost rising. "Is that what you want? Me gone?" He sank to the floor, head in hands. "No. God, no. But Elena, she knew. About us. That's why the probe feels personal. Her brothers at the SEC, pulling strings. The revelation hit like a freight train. Not just divorce fallout, but sabotage, her wounded pride weaponized. Rage boiled in me, hot and helpless. "We fight," I said, kneeling beside him, fingers interlacing. Together. The battle raged through summer's swelter. Lawyers, depositions, media leaks painting Michael as the villain in a tabloid tragedy. Elena's interviews dripped sympathy. Betrayed by the man I loved. Protests outside the office, picket signs decrying corporate greed. Our faces blurred in scandal sheets. I stood by him, leaking counterdocs to friendly reporters, our bond forged in fire. Nights of strategy sessions turning intimate, his vulnerability a balm to my fears. Betrayal peaked in August, a courier-delivered envelope at my desk. Photos. Us in the motel, the park, grainy but unmistakable. A note in her looping script. "He'll drag you down too. Walk away." Heart pounding, I confronted him, evidence splayed on the kitchen island. "She knows everything. This is her endgame." Michael's face drained of color, then hardened. "Then we go public. No more hiding." The press conference was electric, flanked by counsel in the Sterling lobby, flashbulbs popping like gunfire. "The allegations are baseless," he declared, voice resonant. Then, turning to me, hand extended. "And for the record, Christopher Ellis isn't just my colleague. He's my partner. The man who saved me from myself." Gasps rippled, cameras whirring. Elena's name unspoken but thunderous. The world shifted, headlines screaming Wall Street scandal. Gay romance rocks finance. Supporters emerging from shadows, queer allies rallying online. Fallout was biblical. Sterling cleaved, old guard resigning in droves, A new progressive board installing Michael as interim CEO, with me at his side, VP of Strategy. Elena faded to Europe, her gallery thriving in exile. A truce brokered through mutual destruction. We weathered the storm in a Gramercy co-op, walls echoing with laughter, scars badges of survival. By Thanksgiving, as we carved turkey with friends, queer chosen family around a harvest table, the humanistic truth settled. Love wasn't flawless conquest, but resilient weave of flaws and forgiveness. Michael raised his glass, eyes locking on mine across the candlelit chaos. To unlock doors, he toasted, voice thick. I smiled, hand in his under the tablecloth. And unbreakable bonds. In the end, it wasn't triumph or tragedy, but grace. The quiet miracle of two men, remade in each other's light, stepping into America's vast, unforgiving promise, hand in hand. The probe's shadow lingered into December, a specter haunting our fragile peace. But Michael's resolve was ironclad, forged in the crucible of exposure. We'd traded secrecy for scrutiny, and while the tabloids feasted, Brokeback Bullpen, the gay power couple shaking Wall Street. Our days took on a rhythm both exhilarating and exhausting. Mornings began with his lips brushing my temple, the scent of fresh espresso mingling with the crisp bite of winter air filtering through our bedroom window. "Golden boy," he'd murmur, nuzzling my neck, a teasing nod to the nicknames that now carried weight beyond flirtation. At the firm, rechristened Hale Ellis Ventures in a bold rebrand, we were pioneers, albeit reluctant. Board meetings buzzed with a new energy. Diverse hires, inclusive policies drafted in late-night sessions over takeout tie. But not all welcomed the shift. Whispers slithered through the ranks. Senior partners eyeing me with thinly veiled disdain. Emails laced with passive-aggressive queries about personal conflicts of interest. Michael shielded me, his protectiveness a double-edged sword, stirring my independence like a hornet's nest. One evening, as snow flurried past the frosted panes of our conference room, the conflict crested. Tom Hargrove, a grizzled rainmaker from the old guard, cornered us after hours, his bourbon breath heavy. "This fairy tale merger of yours," he sneered, jabbing a finger at Michael. "It's a goddamn liability. Clients bolting left and right. Old money doesn't trust bedfellows who swap sheets." The slur landed like a slap, my fists clenching under the table. Michael rose, calm as a closing bell. "Out, now, or I'll have security escort you." Hargrove lumbered away, but his parting shot echoed. "You're burning it all down, Hale. For what? A pretty boy and a pipe dream. Alone." The room's tension uncoiled into something rawer. "He's right," I admitted, slumping against the credenza, the city a glittering accusation below. "We're pushing too hard, too fast. What if we lose everything?" Michael's arms encircled me from behind, chin resting on my shoulder, his warmth an anchor in the gale. "Then we rebuild. Together. That's the point, Chris. Not the corner office, but us." His words, simple and steadfast, dissolved my doubts, leading us to the floor in a tangle of discarded jackets and unspoken vows. There, amid spreadsheets and strategy whiteboards, we reclaimed agency, bodies moving in syncopated defiance. But betrayal's tendrils reached deeper, snaking into the personal. Elena resurfaced via a certified letter, innocuous on the surface. Shared assets from the divorce, a vintage Rolex he'd forgotten. Tucked inside was a Polaroid. Us, mid-kiss in Central Park, time-stamped before the conference. No note, but the implication screamed. I still hold the cards. Michael's jaw tightened as he crumpled it, but I saw the fracture. Guilt resurfacing like a bad debt. "She won't stop," he said, voice hollow. "This is her revenge, painting me as the villain who abandoned her for this." This stung, a reminder of the world's reductive gaze. I pulled him to the couch, forcing eye contact. "For love, Michael. Say it." He did. Eventually, the admission a dam breaking, tears hot on my collarbone. We spent the night dissecting ghosts. Her pain, his complicity, the societal scripts we'd both internalized. Dawn found us planning, a private investigator to trace leaks, a public statement reframing our narrative. Humanistic in its core, we chose empathy over enmity, reaching out to Elena through counsel. We wish you peace. Let's end this cycle. New Year's Eve marked a pivot, the ball dropping in Times Square's frenzy a metaphor for our rebirth. We watched from a rooftop bar in Midtown, bundled in wool coats, champagne flutes clinking amid the roar. Fireworks bloomed overhead, kaleidoscopic against the night, and as the crowd surged, Michael's hand slipped into mine. Public, unapologetic. To us, he toasted, pulling me into a kiss that tasted of possibility and frost-kissed resolve. Strangers cheered, a queer chorus in the chaos, and for the first time, I believed in the arc bending toward us. Winter thawed into a tentative spring, the firm stabilizing as progressive clients flocked, tech unicorns, impact funds drawn to our authentic leadership. Personally, we wove deeper. Therapy sessions unpacking closets, weekend getaways to the Berkshires where we hiked misty trails, hands clasped, sharing silences pregnant with growth. Michael's vulnerability bloomed. Poems scrawled on napkins, a playlist of Springsteen ballads for long drives upstate. I, in turn, shed my armor, admitting fears of inadequacy. The Ohio boy's whisper that I was not enough for a man like him. Yet conflict simmered, inevitable as market fluctuations. In April, Hargrove's faction struck back. A shareholder revolt, petitions circulating to oust Michael, citing distractions with veiled homophobia. The boardroom showdown was theatrical. Projections flickering accusations of mismanagement, voices rising in cacophony. I presented the counter, metrics soaring, diversity dividends in talent retention. My voice steady, laced with the fire he'd ignited in me. This isn't about numbers, I concluded, locking eyes with the ringleaders. It's about fear, and we're done cowering. Michael followed, his closing a masterclass in gravitas. Anecdotes of resilience, from his closeted youth to our shared battles. Love isn't a liability, he declared, hand brushing mine in full view. It's the ultimate asset. The vote swung narrow, us by 3 shares, and as we exited to applause from allies, the weight lifted, betrayal transmuted to triumph. Summer brought languid heat, our love ripening under relentless sun. We escaped to Fire Island Pines, the gay mecca a balm. Beaches thrumming with drag brunches, dune walks where hands intertwined without fear. There, amid salt air and crashing waves, Michael proposed, not with fanfare, but a simple seashell ring, etched with our initials. Marry me, Chris. Not for show, but for us. Tears blurred the horizon as I said yes. The ocean's roar our witness. Back in the city, wedding plans intertwined with firm expansions. A queer venture fund launched to fanfare, Elena's silence a grudging peace. A climax loomed in September, a gala for the fund at the Met Cloisters, medieval stone echoing modern dreams. Elena appeared uninvited, elegant in black chiffon, champagne flute poised like a scepter. Congratulations, she said, voice velvet over venom, cornering us by a tapestry of unicorns. On the fairy tale, the barb landed, but Michael's response was grace incarnate. Thank you, Elena, truly, for the life we had and the freedom to find this. She faltered, mask slipping to reveal raw hurt. I loved you, Michael, before him. The admission hung, a bridge extended. I stepped forward, heart pounding. We never wanted to hurt you. Maybe we can all heal. What followed was halting, coffee the next week, then therapy circles where accusations softened to understanding. Betrayals sting dulled, replaced by humanistic threads. Shared humanity in fractured bonds. By autumn's gold, as leaves carpeted Washington Square Park, our wedding unfolded in a brownstone ceremony. Vows exchanged under string lights, friends toasting with craft IPAs. Michael's eyes, brimming, mirrored mine. In you, I found my true north. The reception spilled into the night, a tapestry of laughter and first dances to At Last. Etta James crooning our anthem. In the quiet aftermath, as we honeymooned in Provincetown's dunes, the story's arc settled. Not flawless, but profoundly human. We'd navigated tempests, locked doors yielding confessions, betrayals birthing resilience, conflicts forging deeper love. America, with its vast contradictions, from boardroom battles to beachside freedoms, had tested us, but in each other's arms we emerged whole. Unbroken, unbound, eternally ours. The wedding's afterglow carried us into a rhythm of domestic bliss laced with the firm's relentless pulse. But autumn's chill whispered warnings of winter's return. Hale Ellis Ventures expanded aggressively. A satellite office in San Francisco, partnerships with Silicon Valley startups hungry for our woke capital edge. Michael thrived in the spotlight, keynote speeches at Davos-like conferences where he'd weave our story into manifestos on inclusive innovation. Vulnerability isn't weakness, he'd say, his hand finding mine on stage. It's the leverage that moves mountains. Audiences ate it up, but backstage, the toll showed. Exhaustion etching his features, nightmares jolting him awake with murmurs of "don't leave." I played counterweight, the steady hand, managing day-to-day ops, mentoring juniors with the empathy he'd instilled in me. Our mornings were sacred. Him brewing pour-over in our sunlit kitchen, me scrolling headlines over avocado toast, feet tangled under the island. "What's the verdict?" he'd ask, sliding a mug my way, steam curling like question marks. I'd recount the world's absurdities. Another Politico's anti-LGBTQ tweet storm, a merger flop in Detroit, and we'd dissect, laugh, plot our next countermove. It was romance in the mundane, the quiet heroism of chosen partnership. But conflict brewed anew, insidious as a bear market. Elena's olive branch had been tentative, their mediated sessions a minefield of unearthed resentments. One drizzly November evening, she called not Michael but me. "Christopher," she began, voice polished as gallery marble. "We need to talk about the foundation." It was a curveball, a queer arts nonprofit she'd quietly seeded post-divorce, now seeking our firm's backing. Skepticism warred with curiosity. Was this redemption or ruse? We met at a neutral cafe in Tribeca, exposed brick walls humming with laptop warriors. She arrived poised, blonde waves tamed, but her eyes, stormy as his, betrayed the churn. "I don't hate you," she said over lattes, stirring absently. "Anymore. Therapy's a bitch. But it works." The admission cracked the ice, leading to hours of unvarnished exchange. Her isolation in the marriage's facade, the shock of discovery like a canvas slashed. "I saw you two at the cloisters. The way he looks at you. It's what I always wanted." Vulnerability mirrored mine, and by coffee's dregs we inked a tentative alliance. Funding for her initiative, strings attached to transparency. Michael's reaction was layered, gratitude laced with unease. "She's playing the long game," he warned that night, pacing our living room as rain pattered the skylight. "Don't get burned." But I saw the humanistic potential, enemies to allies, betrayals ashes fertilizing growth. "Trust me," I urged, drawing him down beside me on the velvet sectional. "This could heal us all." His surrender was slow, a kiss deepening into affirmation, bodies reaffirming what words couldn't. December's holidays amplified the stakes, a firm retreat to Aspen blending team building with Yuletide excess. Powder days on the slopes gave way to fireside charrettes, but undercurrents swirled. Hargrove, demoted but venomous, cornered a cluster of associates by the après-ski bar, his baritone booming slurs disguised as jokes. Back in my day, we kept bedrooms separate from boardrooms. Laughter rippled uneasily, but a young analyst, Javier, non-binary and fierce, clapped back, "Times change, Tom. Deal with it." The standoff escalated, Michael intervening with quiet authority, but the damage festered, anonymous HR complaints piling up like snowdrifts. Climax ignited on Christmas Eve, mulled wine flowing at our chalet-hosted bash. Elena arrived unannounced, a gift-wrapped sculpture in tow, abstract lovers entwined in bronze, her olive branch manifest. Cheers masked the tension, but as carols warbled from hidden speakers, Hargrove struck. A leaked email chain, forwarded to all, twisting our queer fund into nepotistic favoritism. Photos attached, grainy shots from the wedding, captioned with bile. The room froze, accusations fracturing the cheer. Is this how we operate now? Michael's face paled, but he seized the mic from the karaoke setup, voice cutting through the din like a bell. Enough. This isn't attack. It's fear. Tom, your era's ending, not because of us, but because the world's demanding better. Turning to the group, eyes scanning faces. Christopher and I built this from honesty. If that's not enough, doors are open. Silence stretched. Then Javier stood. It's more than enough. Applause built, Hargrove slinking out into the night, his faction crumbling under the weight of progress. Elena lingered post-chaos, toasting quietly with us by the roaring hearth. You too. You're the real art, she said, clinking glasses, the sculpture aglow in firelight. Tears glistened, hers, ours, a catharsis unspoken. Betrayal, once a chasm, bridged by shared scars. New year brought renewal, the firm purging toxins. Hargrove's resignation, diversity quotas enshrined. Personally, we dove deeper. Adopting a rescue mutt named Hudson, walks along the high line where puppy antics dissolved tensions. Spring unfurled with Elena's gala launch, our keynote a trio. Michael on vision, me on execution, her on creative soul. The crowd, artists, activists, execs, roared approval, headlines hailing from rivals to revolutionaries. Yet romance's emotional core deepened in quieter beats. One June midnight, insomnia gripping him after a nightmare of loss, Michael confessed buried fears. What if I'm not enough? The divorce, the scandals? Did I taint us? I held him through the dark, tracing constellations on his back. You're my everything, flaws and all. Dawn's light found us entwined, vulnerability the truest intimacy. Summer's heatwave tested endurance. A cross-country road trip in a vintage Mustang, Route 66 redux from NYC to LA. Deserts blurred into motels with neon signs, pit stops for greasy diners where locals gawked at our intertwined hands. In the Grand Canyon's vast maw, we scattered Elena's symbolic ashes. Not literal, but a letter of release she'd penned. Winds carrying forgiveness skyward. To new horizons, Michael whispered, kissing me as eagles wheeled overhead. Back east, fall's palette framed our first anniversary. A vow renewal in the village, under the arch where we'd first held hands publicly. Friends gathered, Javier officiating, Elena toasting with wry wit. To loves that endure, she said, eyes soft. The night dissolved into jazz at a speakeasy. Dances slow and swaying. Michael's breath warm. Forever, Chris. As winter loomed again, the cycle complete, our story's humanism crystallized. No tidy bows, but a tapestry of trials transmuted to tenderness. Betrayals had scarred, conflicts honed, climaxes crowned growth. In America's heartland of contradictions, we'd carved our niche, two men, unapologetic, unbreakable. Locked doors behind, boundless roads ahead. The second anniversary dawned with unseasonable warmth, a false spring teasing Manhattan's concrete veins. But beneath the bloom lurked the inexorable pull of change. Hale Ellis had metastasized into a behemoth. Offices in London, Tokyo, a unicorn valuation whispered in Forbes previews. Michael's face graced billboards, the out-CEO icon for a generation, but the crown chafed. Board pressures mounted. Aggressive expansions, quarterly squeezes that bled into our evenings, his BlackBerry buzzing like a persistent phantom. Just one more call, he'd say, kissing my forehead from the study, but the hours stretched, eroding our sanctuary. I adapted, channeling energy into side passions. A podcast on queer finance, episodes dissecting our scandals with candor that drew cult listeners. Guests ranged from Elena, now a collaborator on cross-Atlantic exhibits, to Javier, rising star in ops. Recording in our home studio, a converted closet with egg crate walls, became therapy, microphone my confessor. Michael joined once, his vulnerability raw. Coming out cost me a marriage, a reputation, but it gained me a life. Listeners flooded inboxes with thanks, stories mirroring ours. Closeted execs in Atlanta, baristas in Boise finding courage. Conflict simmered domestically, subtle as a margin call. Hudson, our graying mutt, developed a limp, vet visits punctuating lazy Sundays with needles and bills. More insidious, Michael's restlessness, late-night scrolls through Zillow for bigger spaces. Hints of legacy beyond ledgers. Kids? He broached one crisp October brunch, bagels steam heating the air. Surrogacy, adoption, whatever feels right. The word hung, a fork in our road. I'd envisioned us as eternal duo, unencumbered explorers. But his eyes, hopeful, haunted, stirred maternal echoes from my Ohio roots. The sibling I never had. We tabled it, diving into research. Agencies, forums teeming with gay dads swapping war stories. Excitement built, tentative plans sketched over wine, naming brainstorming nursery mock-ups in our spare room. But betrayal's specter resurfaced, not from foes but fracture within. A weekend conference in Miami pulled Michael south, schmoozing venture capitalists amid Art Basil's glitter. Texts flowed, miss you, poolside pina? Then silence, radio static for 18 hours. Panic clawed my gut. Memories of Elena's leaks, Hargrove's sabotage, flooded back. He returned haggard, excuses tumbling. Lost phone, back-to-back panels. But the hotel folio slipped from his briefcase. Charges for a suite, room service for two. Who? I demanded, voice steel in our shadowed bedroom. Hudson whining at the door. Michael's deflection crumbled under scrutiny. A former Dartmouth flame, rekindled in vodka haze. Just talk, nothing more. The lie cracked open old wounds. His Prius indiscretions. The fear I'd always been rebound, not revelation. Betrayal's knife twisted deep that night. Accusations flying like shattered glass. Am I enough? I hurled, tears hot. Or just the safe harbor after the storm? He recoiled, then collapsed, confession spilling. Isolation in the spotlight, the surrogate pressure amplifying doubts. I panicked, Chris. You're my rock. But I'm terrified of breaking us with more. Vulnerability raw. We circled the drain. Yelling to whispers. Bodies bridging the chasm in exhausted reconciliation. Dawn brought armistice. Couples therapy, boundaries redrawn. No solo overnights, radical honesty as covenant. Healing unfolded in layers. Winter's blanket a cocoon. Therapy with Dr. Leong. A no-nonsense dyke with a Brooklyn accent. Peeled onions of insecurity. Michael's imposter syndrome. My abandonment scars from a father's silence on my queerness. Sessions bled into dates. Ice skating at Bryant Park. Mittened hands and cocoa laughs. Reigniting spark. Elena, sensing ripples, hosted a neutral ground dinner at her Soho loft. Her new partner. A sculptor with inked arms. A buffer. Over osso buco, toasts turned confessional. We all betray to survive, she said, eyes on Michael. But forgiveness? That's the art. Spring's thaw mirrored our mend. The podcast hitting viral stride with an episode on queer betrayals. From scandal to strength. Listeners surged. Invites to TEDx stages where I shared our fractures. Michael's arm a steady prop. The firm benefited. HR workshops on relational ethics. Retention soaring as authenticity permeated culture. Climax brewed in May. A merger with a Berlin fintech darling. Quantum leaps in ethical AI. But geopolitical thorns, Brexit hangovers, data privacy minefields. Negotiations dragged into all-nighters. Michael's intensity peaking. My support unwavering until the Miami echo resurfaced. A leaked memo, anonymous, Hargrove's ghost. Hinted at personal distractions derailing talks. Paranoia gripped the board. Emergency session called. The confrontation was volcanic. C-suite arrayed like inquisitors, projections damning delays. Michael defended, data my ammunition, but Hargrove's proxy, a oily consultant, pounced. Emotional entanglements breed bias. Resign, hail, for the firm's sake. The room crackled, eyes on me. The entanglement. Heart thundering. I rose. Bias? Try bigotry. This merger's stalled by red tape, not love. Applause from allies, but the vote loomed dire. That night, in our rain-lashed penthouse, despair crested. Michael paced, scotch forgotten. It's over. I lose everything again. Betrayal cycle spun, self, Elena, now this. I pulled him to the window. City lights a defiant constellation. Then we pivot. Walk away, start fresh. You, me, Hudson. A queer consultancy, no suits, all soul. His laugh broke, bitter then buoyant. Madness. Beautiful madness. Resolution dawned audacious. We countered the board with a buyout proposal. Elena's network rallying investors. The pivot, Hale Ellis restructured as a boutique advisory, focusing on LGBTQ plus ventures, stunned detractors. Hargrove's faction imploded. The consultant shone the door. Headlines crowed power couples power play. Our stock metaphoric skyrocketing. Summer sealed the shift. Sabbatical in Provincetown Redux. Dunes our confessional. There, amid whale watches and clambakes, we revisited kids, yes, via adoption, a boy from the system with Michael's eyes and spirit. Fall brought homecoming. Little Theo, 3 and tornado energetic, folding into our chaos with giggles and glue art masterpieces. By winter's embrace, as snow dusted Gramercy Park, our tapestry enriched. Betrayals as teachers, conflicts as catalysts. Michael's bedtime stories to Theo echoed our own. Tales of locked doors and unlocked hearts. Elena anti-visited, her sculptures adorning Theo's room. Humanism triumphed. Not erasure of pain, but alchemy, turning leaden wounds to golden bonds. In America's ever-evolving narrative, we wrote ours. Resilient, romantic, relentlessly real. Theo's arrival reshaped our world like a benevolent earthquake. His tiny chaos infusing the loft with Lego minefields and crayon murals that Michael gamely displayed as gallery-worthy abstracts. Fatherhood suited him, the once-buttoned exec now knee-deep in kiddie pools at rooftop barbecues. His laughter booming freer than boardroom deals. Mornings devolved into syrup-smeared negotiations over who got the last blueberry pancake. My podcast booth commandeered for fort-building marathons. Daddy Chris story, Theo'd demand, clambering into my lap. His curls a moppet echo of mine. Those rituals grounded us, a bulwark against the firm's post-pivot whirl. Hale Ellis Advisory, our leaner, meaner incarnation, thrived in boutique bliss, clients a curated cabal of startups birthed from marginalized minds. A translate app for mental health, a non-binary fashion house disrupting Milan. Consults happened in coffee shops or virtual Zooms. Michael's gravitas leavened with dad jokes that disarmed founders. Elena collaborated on branding, her aesthetic eye-elevating pitches. Dinners at her place became weekly, Theo's antics bridging old chasms with gleeful abandon. Auntie Lena, horsey, he'd command, and she'd oblige, her laughter a melody we'd once thought lost. Yet drama's undercurrent never fully ebbed, ebbing like tides with teeth. In March, a client implosion rocked us. The trans app, poised for unicorn status, torpedoed by venture vultures sniffing risky demographics. Backers pulled funding amid a conservative backlash. Boycotts fanned by talking heads decrying woke overreach. Michael dove in, rallying counter-investors, but the stress etched hollows under his eyes, sleep fractured by Theo's nightmares mirroring his own. Conflict crested domestically when Theo's preschool unearthed my Ohio ghosts. A curriculum on families sparked playground whispers. Theo has 2 daddies? Weird. Escalating to a parent's petition for traditional values opt-outs. The director called us in neutral ground, a conference table too reminiscent of old battles. It's not policy, she assured. Just concerns. Rage simmered, but Michael's response was measured fire. Concerns? Or prejudice? We'll support Theo, and sue if needed. We pulled him, enrolling in a queer-affirming co-op uptown. But the sting lingered. Betrayal from safe spaces a bitter pill. Betrayal's blade turned inward that spring. A relic from Miami's mess. An anonymous email hit my inbox. Screenshots of Michael's texts to the old flame. Post-rekindle apologies, but laced with what if? Hypotheticals that curdled my blood. Sent from a ghost account, time-stamped recent. Panic surged. Therapy tools failed as I confronted him in the park. Theo splashing obliviously in the fountain. Is it happening again? Voice cracking, I thrust the phone forward. His denial fractured under evidence. Not a fair, but a masochistic scroll through old chats, doubt's rabbit hole during a sleepless bender. The fight was cataclysmic. Accusations hurled amid dogwalkers' stares, Theo's wails piercing the din. "I can't trust you," I roared, storming home to pack a bag. Crash pad at Javier's, the firm's wunderkind now family. Days blurred in exile. Podcasts postponed. Elena's texts a lifeline. Men are idiots. Breathe. Michael wooed back with gestures epic and earnest. Daily letters slid under my door. Playlists of reconciliation anthems. A surprise visit to Theo's school with puppeteer flair that had the kid beaming. Climax unfolded in June's humid haze. A firm retreat to the Hamptons twisted by fate. Clients, Theo in tow, beach volleyball devolving into bonfire confessions. Michael pulled me aside at dusk, waves lapping like accusations. "I fucked up. Doubting us when you deserve certainty." Vulnerability poured. Therapy revelations of attachment wounds. His fear of failing Theo as his father failed him. "You're my north, Chris. Without you, I'm adrift." Tears mingled with salt air. My walls crumbling. "Prove it," I challenged, and he did, committing to solo retreats, a doubt detox journal shared transparently. Resolution rippled outward. The app salvaged via crowdfund. Elena's gala raising millions. Headlines hailing, "Queer Capital's Comeback." Domestically, we rebuilt ritual. Weekly Trust Tuesdays. Date night sans devices. Theo's bedtime a triad tale of dragons slain by Daddy Love. Summer's zenith brought a family trip to Ohio, my roots. Reclaimed. Standing in my childhood backyard. Michael grilling with my dad. Begrudgingly thawed. Theo chasing fireflies. The circle closed. Forgiveness a generational bomb. Fall deepened bonds. Theo's first school play. Him as a tree in the giving tree. Stealing scenes with improvised hugs. Elena directed the afterparty. Her partner cooing over Theo's star quality. As leaves turned, Michael's birthday surprise. A tattoo, our initials intertwined on his ribcage, inked in Provincetown's salty breeze. "Permanent," he grinned, pulling me close. Romance reignited, fiercer for the forge. Winter solstice marked 3 years wed. A vow renewal in Central Park's conservatory. Glass walls fogged with breath and joy. Theo ringbearer in tiny tucks. Friends toasted. Javier on resilience. Elena on reinvention. Michael's words, vow quiet. "You taught me love's not possession, but presence. Through betrayals and breakthroughs, you're my always." Mine echoed. "In your flaws I found my strength. Here's to the mess we make together." By spring's renewal, the narrative's humanism shone. Life's not linear triumph, but mosaic of missteps mended. Betrayals had betrayed their own limits. Conflicts catalyzed clarity. Climaxes crowned compassion. In America's kaleidoscope, from Wall Street wolves to family hearths, we thrived. Michael, Christopher, Theo, Elena's orbit. A constellation of chosen kin. Unlocked, unbound, unyieldingly us. Epilogue whispers in summer's lull. Theo's laughter echoing through our expanded brownstone. Michael pitching a memoir. Locked doors. A love in ledgers. Me editing with red pen and red wine. Elena's exhibit debuts our story in sculpture, raw and redemptive. As fireflies dance in the garden, hands linked on the porch swing, the future unfurls. Not flawless, but fiercely ours. In the heart of it all, love endures. Dramatic, emotional, romantic, profoundly human.